I knew that in order to live, I had to stop that life and step into authenticity. And
Hi, my name is Katie, and I have conversations almost every week to inspire compassion. And I also do vlogs where I'm documenting and living vulnerability and growing as a person. In this video, I'm having a conversation with Kate Madden, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you. Thank you so much for being here. This is Kate. Thank you so much, Kate, for being here on my channel. We've known about each other's channels for a long time now.
2 or 3 years, I think.
Yeah, 2 years
Yeah,
is
something
how
like
long
that,
I've been
at
on YouTube.
least.
I
Yeah.
remember just being so impacted by one of your videos, and I'm pretty sure I cried
Oh,
in a good way, because it's so powerful to tell a story that is so true and so raw. And it actually inspired me to make a video way back in the day. So back when my channel was geared towards encouraging Christians to love better.
yeah.
And it was called Dear Christians, Learn to Love Trans People.
Oh, I missed that one.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to share your video in that, but I remember being scared that sharing it would mean inviting horrible people to come and leave hate, even though that's not the kind of community I've ever had. And it's not like there's billions of channels out there. The chance of just being discovered at all is so slim.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I do get hateful comments. It does happen. I'm pretty visible on multiple platforms, whether that be Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter. And so, yeah, the comments do come. They don't always bother me. Sometimes they do. I've learned to just quickly block and ignore. Faith has been such a critical and important part of my life through my whole life. I studied to be a priest, a Catholic priest, for several years. And the loss of my faith community after my marriage was probably the hardest thing about gender transition for me. And so, yeah, I have made a couple of videos about faith, specifically being Catholic and trans. And I occasionally get like drive-by comments on that video. People, will quote First Romans at me or what have you. Or they'll just ask terrible questions about my childhood and sexual trauma and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I've kind of learned to roll with it. Also, if any, kind-hearted Christian would like to correct me in public, I'm certainly happy to engage them biblically, scripturally, theologically, in whatever capacity they want, because they're not going to be able to shake my faith. And I am a believer, and I cheerfully say so. And which puts me out of step with a lot of queer people, that my faith remains unshaken through transition and coming out. So yeah, I don't go to mass regularly. I don't attend church regularly, but I've gone to online video services and stuff. So anyways, and philosophically speaking, a Swedish philosopher is one of my favorites, and that's Soren Kierkegaard.
Yeah, the video that touched me so much was you sharing your story about how like you couldn't breathe. It got to the point where you
Yeah.
feel like you couldn't. Want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. I was really living the perfect life. I had a beautiful spouse, beautiful wife, beautiful house, 3,000 square foot house, 6 children, six-figure job. I was living everything, people's fantasies. And gender identity was something that had always really confused me, is how I always thought of it, was being confused. And, I loved my family. I loved my spouse. I wanted to be a part of that family, or to keep living that life. But like, I had tried to come out. I had tried to transition. My former spouse and I had separated a couple of times previously about it. And in the end, as I, approached 40, I just, the duplicity of the life I was living, like I wasn't living authentically. The dysphoria, so that there's an inner dissonance that occurs when your physical and your mental gender don't align. So that's called dysphoria. That was really impacting me and driving me really into depression. And I couldn't. It got to the point where it was really life or death, and I began to think about suicide a lot. And 43% of trans people do attempt suicide, and I don't know how many are successful, but a friend of mine was successful a few months ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So it's really common, and I knew that in order to live, I had to stop that life and step into authenticity. And it's not been without challenges, for sure. I've had some really hard days since. It was hard on my children, and there are some relationships there that are fractured. But at the end of the day, I get to be myself, and I get to love. I can fully love and be loved, as I was created. And that's, fully and giving and totally. And that feels so much better.
Yeah. Oh, I have a trans brother, and it's just really, it makes me feel really awful how long it took me to say brother and how long I tiptoed around things. These conversations, we need to have them. And I really hope that the people who have never seen a trans person in real life or in a video, like, I hope that people will step out of their comfort zones to actually hear how to have compassion. And so I would like to ask you, what does the Trans Day of Visibility mean to you?
I think it's changed over time for me. So, I've been out now for 3.5 years, living authentically as myself. And, as I approach this one here at the end of March 2020, I think really I've come to a place where I'm not worried about people recognizing that I'm trans. Like, I can't hide the fact that I'm trans. I get clocked. I open my mouth and people can tell that I'm trans. So I've come to a place of comfort with that. But I've also come to a place where that's beautiful, and I get to be myself in public, in society, professionally, corporately. I work for one of the largest insurance companies in Canada, in a pretty high profile role. I get to create space, really, for people coming up behind me who might still be afraid, or might still be questioning, or wondering, or working through, because that confusion that I referenced earlier was really just fear of loss, fear of losing, fear of homelessness. Will anyone love me?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I really try to show, being publicly visible on YouTube, trying to be a resource that I didn't feel I had as an older trans person, who was married, professional, religious, parent. And yeah, so Trans Day of Visibility for me just means that I made it, and so can you. And it's not easy, but it's worth it.
There's a day of remembrance and a day of visibility. So the day of visibility is more of a celebration, right?
Yeah, Trans Day Remembrance is in November, November 20th. And it's a global day where, as a community, we recognize all the trans people who were murdered in the last year. Trans women of color, particularly in North America and Brazil, face the disproportionate risk to their life. I forget how many were murdered last year. I stopped counting in the mid-30s. Yeah, it's harrowing is really the only word I can use to describe as we gather. So here in Vancouver, I live on the west coast of Canada on the unceded coastal Salish territories that we call Vancouver today. Here in Vancouver, what we did was we had a small group downtown do a candlelight vigil in a plaza, and then they broadcast via internet to the rest of us who were gathered on video, and we read through the names of everyone. And that took almost 2 hours, Katie, to go through everyone's name who had been murdered. And usually we're together, and we can lean on each other. And it was really hard this year just being by myself. And yeah, it hurt. Like it was really hard. And so yeah, and to that point, I think, a lot of people don't understand, like how marginalized we are. And I had dinner with a friend a couple of years ago, friend from high school. Like we've known each other since we were 13, 14 years old. And after dinner, we went our separate ways. And I was walking down this dark street with my heels echoing off the walls and down the sidewalk, and I was by myself. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt super vulnerable. And, why would I ask my high school friend to walk me to my car? Like it didn't even cross my mind. And so, yeah, it's a risk we face. And, like any gender-based violence, like misogyny is real. Yeah, for a lot of trans women, the risk of death is real. I'm privileged in my marginalization. Like, I'm a white middle-class female in Canada. Like I have hate laws and legislation here that protects me literally as a protected person. Doesn't mean it's not without risk. I have been accosted in the street, and friends of mine have been as well. But it's still something you're very aware of, and we all talk to each other. Like one person posts about this person being murdered or what have you, assaulted, and it spreads through the community, and we just reshare it, and we all know about it, really within a couple of days.
Yeah, there's something that's been on my mind for a while now. What does it mean to be female to you?
A video you did on it, actually on gender roles, was actually really, really powerful.
I will link that somewhere.
Somewhere?
Yeah.
Down here?
In the description.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, go watch it now and then come back here and watch the rest of our conversation. Great video, very thought-provoking. What does it mean to be female to me? Was that the question? Before I got distracted? Yeah. Yeah. I really feel like myself. I mean, at the core, it's like I'm finally myself. So there's that. I've kind of come to understand gender as two different things, and that is expression and identity. And so my gender identity is very female, she, her. I'm on the binary, like that male, female. So like on the trans flag, we've got assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth, and then there's a white stripe between the non-binary folks. And yeah, so excuse me. It means that I get to fight for my place in society, create the space for myself and for others in my world, in a world that doesn't necessarily always want me or accept me. Um, being female, you know, I feel more in tune with the world, and maybe I'm just more in tune with myself, and I can receive, what's going on in the world, whether that be the person in front of me whom I can be more present with, or just walking down the street and being aware of the beauty of creation in a whole new way. um, so that's really the identity side, where I get to just be myself and reject that masculinity, that violence, that oppression. The expression side, is personally, I'm more kind of that high femme, queer experience of femininity, and that's a specific intentional expression of gender, where my femininity is intentional. It is purposeful, and it's subversive and challenging, and it's not necessarily ladylike. But it's this queer experience wherein I push back against those gender roles and those gender expectations that the world wants me to fit into.
It makes me think of how in the queer community, taking back words that were slurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have anything to contribute about that train of thought?
Yeah, so I identify as queer. So specifically to me, that means someone who is outside cisgender, heteronormative standards, expectations, behaviors, relationships, all of that. I don't assume that every LGBTQ2S person that I meet. So 2S, for those of you who might be not familiar with that, is two-spirit. And in the Indigenous community here in North America, it's an experience that can apply to sexuality or gender. And it's worth reading up on if it's new to you. But I don't assume that someone kind of across that gender and sexual diversity spectrum is necessarily comfortable with the word queer or identifies as queer. Mm-hmm. So I'll always ask if I'm meeting somebody new. I find older gay people, they don't like it as much. I've also found that the more community-minded, community-active people, the people who are kind of on the ground, direct action, organizing, it's common parlance, and it's kind of just the shorthand for gender and sexually diverse and not straight, because it encompasses really like in this entire spectrum of gender and sexual diversity, that isn't necessarily a straight white male gay experience. It's the asexual, the aromantic, the questioning, the queer, the intersex, the non-binary. It's all of us who might be left out by the patriarchy.
And it's just so hard because so much of queer history has just been erased.
Yeah, it has been. And, the Nazi book burnings were the Institute of Sexology in Munich, I think it was, or Stuttgart, I can't remember, but that was some key early research in the 20s and 30s in Germany, prior to fascism being on the rise there. Queer history has been erased, but we've always been here. Like they often find two skeletons, two male or two female skeletons buried together, and they're not necessarily friends, just friends. So, our ancient ancestors and wherever, from a trans perspective, yeah, like there are stories. There are things on the historical record in, dating back to the Roman times, 100% that we were here. It just wasn't necessarily safe for us to be visible or to come out. And, only those of us who were really kind of on, the only way to manage through that dysphoria was to express themselves regardless of the consequences, or they were unable to stay in the closet because of, they just were able to be themselves. That there are people, 19th century, 18th century historical records of folks who were assigned male at birth or assigned female at birth and transitioned socially, if not medically.
Mm. Yes, there's so much to learn about. That's why Trans Day Visibility is so important for people outside of the rainbow community who just like need to not stick their head in the sand about so many people.
Yeah, and it's hard right now because we're being used as a litmus test or a wedge issue in America.
Mm.
All the different legislation that's impacting trans kids and their ability to play sports, for example, throughout America. I don't understand it. Like, we're a percent of the population, and it seems like we've just become this polarizing cultural force in America that, of course, then just expands elsewhere. Like, I don't know how much American news you get in Sweden, but I live 35 minutes from the U.S. border, so I turn on the TV or I turn on the internet and I'm swamped with news from Washington State or the US. I think this Trans Day of Visibility is really critical, really important, especially, to people who might be struggling, because they might hear their relatives talking about what's going on legislatively in America or culturally. They might not have come out yet, and it might be hard for them to feel safe. And so, if you're watching, if you're tuning into this, and you're in Missouri, Idaho, Iowa, Wyoming, wherever you are, hold on. And there is space for you. And there are people waiting for you. You are loved and you are worthy. And it's so hard, really, like when it's oppressively anti-trans the way that it is right now in America.
Because it's like, it's not something you can agree to disagree on whether people should exist or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much higher would the numbers be of it's Trans Day of Remembrance is about people who were murdered outright, but people who said you shouldn't exist, they murdered them in their hearts. Yep. And they is propagated the right word? I don't know. It feels like a word. They propagated that the self-hatred and the self-loathing and the thought of like, you'll never be accepted, you'll never be loved. They every time people said you shouldn't exist and hate the sin, love the sinner, and all, and that whole shoot. They killed those people. To commit suicide, it sounds like it's such a guilty action, like they committed it, but no, they lost the fight. Yeah. Just like people used to fight to diabetes or cancer or anything else.
It's really the last step, in a series of, and so something I do on almost every single one of my videos is I end it saying, "Here's to life," and then I post the phone number for the Trans Lifeline. So in North America, I post the number for the US and for Canada for people to call who are in crisis.
We will definitely include those numbers and look up the Swedish numbers as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there are numbers in Sweden and throughout Europe for this. Almost 80% of the people who watch my videos are in North America. So that's really kind of where I tailor it to. Followed by the UK, which is also going through a lot of anti-trans problems right now as well.
Man, I wish you could get you're at like the same amount of subs as me, right? Like around 600, 700.
Yeah, 7 something. I
Wish,
just passed 700 a couple of weeks ago.
wish we could hurry up and get our community tabs so we could have more opportunity to connect with our audiences more.
Yeah, it'll come. I was really focused early on in YouTube of, I'm going to hit 1,000 subscribers in the first year, and I'm going to have an affiliate link, and I'm going to make all this money. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work. And and so I've kind of come to a place too, like my early videos, I always introduced myself as a sales and marketing expert. And I had wanted to kind of monetize my professional experience to help and coach other people through sales and marketing. But I started with the trans stuff because it was low-hanging fruit that I could use, just speaking about my experiences, while I learned the technical side of editing videos, shooting videos, and posting them. And I was just impacting people. Like I was getting these incredible messages. And so I kept with it and realized that I was filling a space that didn't exist. I've had almost 60,000 people watch my videos. Like the last time I looked, it was like 58,000. So, I think there's a disconnect there because a lot of people watching are still in the closet. So they're watching incognito, or they can't subscribe because they're afraid to out themselves. So, I understand and accept that. I would like to get to 1,000 by the end of this year, and have 100 videos. I'm at 82 videos right now, 83, something like that. So, those are, I can control the video posting. If I get 1,000 subs, I get 1,000 subs, great. If not, that's okay. And
who's your target audience for your channel?
Target audience is a trans person who is closeted or recently come out, or kind of around the same kind of timeline as me, 3 years in, 4 years in, what have you, who's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, older, married, professional, who, there are resources for trans kids, and a lot of the trans YouTubers are in their 20s, like younger 20s. And so, in terms of those of us in their 40s, I can only think of a handful of us who are, out there talking. One of them, Melody Maya, she's got about 24,000 subscribers, and she's been doing it for years. And she certainly helped me a lot early on in my journey. But yeah, most of us, we don't fit that thin, pretty, young vision of femininity or masculinity on the other side. So we're bigger, we're older, and so we don't get the views or the subs the way that some of these other folks do. But
that is so interesting, this whole concept of performing femininity and masculinity, that, like, I wonder how to phrase this question without sounding like an absolute idiot, but do you feel like you're under more pressure to perform femininity?
Yeah, so I will deal with it in 2 ways. One is if I am feminine and I go in a skirt and heels, makeup done to the nines, whatever, I will be told I'm performing femininity and overdoing it, or what have you. Making a caricature of my femininity is toxic. Versus if I'm just in a t-shirt, no makeup, just woke up this morning and I had to choose really one way, one or the other, for even just to meet with you. I was like, how do I want to? So I went with the trans flag and the t-shirt. And yeah, so if I go the other way, go to the store, I'm told I'm not making enough effort. I look masculine, or I get misgendered. Like I'll be misgendered even if I look amazing and I'm in 4-inch heels and a beautiful dress. So yeah, like there is the same societal pressure that any other woman feels, to look beautiful, to do your makeup, to shave your legs, wear this, stay up to date on this skincare, that makeup trend. Like we feel it, and that's why I've really come to embrace understanding my gender expression as a queer trans femme person, as really intentional, and I choose it, and I share it with the people I want to share it with, and it's about autonomy. And
sorry. It makes me wonder about people who know in their hearts that they are female, but they're like me, they're absolute lazy. I was embarrassed a little bit editing a vlog when I realized I was out in public with my hair just ratty, just like not brushed at all. I don't own any makeup. I did when I was an actor and I had to be professional, but I don't own anything. I don't do any skincare. I am just straight up lazy. And it's like, it's not fair that a person can be, just because I was born this way, born into this body, it's okay. I can get away with being lazy, but people who were born differently and have to have the society pressure to have to show that they belong to the club. It's just like society.
Yeah, it's hard. If I'm going into a new environment, new office, new restaurant, wherever, new neighborhood, I will make a special effort to dress well so I can blend in easier and just not draw attention to myself, until I feel comfortable and safe. Because I don't know if it's laziness or just comfort. Like your mom,
I just choose comfort.
You have kids.
It's almost, well, even before kids, I was a comfort person. But like when I was a traveling actor missionary, I was always wearing clothes that I just didn't quite like.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like just having to be professional, having to be representing things. So it's like I'm 34 and I don't really still know exactly what I like. Like part of me is just like, really, I just want to go androgynous. Like I want to get more men's clothes. So dumb that clothes are so gendered anyway.
Yeah.
Like
they are.
my kids have boys clothes and girls clothes. They're girls. I don't care. Girls can wear dinosaurs and boats, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
But like, I remember feeling like this. Oh, I hope I don't care. I hope I don't care. That I like decided a few summers ago to just stop shaving my legs, and and I would go out in public, and it was super hot day, so I had to wear shorts because usually I will just like rather wear thin trousers. But I was like, I'm trying not to care. I'm trying not to care. Nobody, I'm in Sweden. Nobody cares here. But then I started to feel like powerful. Like as the summers go on, I start to feel powerful. Like, I don't care. And people don't even look at me and I am free. And I am just saying, suck it to gender roles to say that women have to be looking like newborn babies.
Yeah. Like my experience has taught me that most people are just caught up in their own stuff and they're busy with their own lives, and really nobody cares. 99.9% of the population isn't going to look at your legs or my armpits or whatever. like, they're dealing with their own stuff and they don't care. And so that's been very freeing, actually, to come to that space. And the way you're talking, like you have that power and that freedom, to be autonomous in how you express yourself, and whether that's androgynously, femininely, masculinely, like it's up
Like,
to you.
you could go full Harry and just say that you're a European lady. Like, there you go.
Yeah, I could. I've been to Europe enough times that I could probably pull that off. But a large part of it is I enjoy, taking care of myself. Like, it's become this self-care routine as well, and doing my makeup and doing my hair and taking care of my skin and that kind of thing. I've come to enjoy it also. But so you're American. Where are you from?
I'm from Utah.
Utah. Okay, awesome. I've been there. Salt Lake City is the cleanest place I've ever been.
I'm from Ogden.
Ogden. Okay, I know the name. I can't place it on the map.
Ogden is much better than Salt Lake.
Okay. Did you go to BYU or?
Nope, I didn't actually go to university or college.
Oh, okay.
I graduated from high school from Ogden High. Then I joined a crazy Christian traveling drama company when I was 19, and I traveled for 12 years, and I met my Swedish husband in there, and found out I was having twins in South Africa. And
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then I was so filled with loneliness and lack of purpose after the love of letter writing kind of dried up. That was my first foray into having a life outside of being a milk cow.
Yeah.
And after I just kind of fell out of love with writing letters, I found YouTube, and I was like,
yeah. It is kind of like letters to not just the people watching, but also to yourself. Like, you can go back and watch things you said a year or two ago, and you're like, wow, like I've changed, I've grown, or I'm still stuck in that.
Yeah.
And I think the videos I've seen of yours, like, I think we're kind of aligned in that we're really just talking and articulating things and expressing things. Like, we're not doing DIY or tech reviews or anything like that, which I love those videos. I probably subscribe to just about every camera YouTuber there is. But I like just being, it really is a love letter to yourself. So I've done 2 YouTube videos, just kind of on the anniversary of starting the channel. Just here's what I've learned. So I'm going to I'll do that annually for sure. But I've thought about, doing super simple setups for video.
Can you imagine it would also be really, really special and meaningful for people doing a medical transition, doing a hormonal transition, to think like, okay, there really is progress happening.
Yeah. Well, my whole transition's on YouTube. Like, you can go back to my very first video, and I was presenting male in that video and going through my clothes and donating my clothes. And
oh wow.
Like, it's called, I think, a test video. Like, I was just trying to decide if I wanted it, but it's posted. If you check it out, you'll see from 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago almost, that it's up there. So yeah, it's kind of cool to go back and look at it. As well, I think it's also cool to see the comfort level change. I don't know, like, maybe because you're a professional actor, when you first started, you were able to, you were more comfortable in front of the camera than I was. Like, I was very, I was very, I more kind of homilizing, like it was a sermon, that church training was coming out. Whereas now I'm just talking. But what are future goals for you and your channel, your platform? What do you want to do?
I really want to find my people that like want to learn, that want to that want to grow, that are also ex-evangelicals coming out of like, there's a lot of anger and a lot of sadness that comes from like, wow, I was raised with so much homophobia and transphobia. Wow, I was raised with a mentality that primed me to be susceptible to nonsense conspiracy theories, like people that are like trying to find themselves and find what they believe after while trying to deal with, okay, how do I let go of trans and homophobia? How do I just like become a better human?
Wow, that's so powerful. Like I hear what you're saying. Something I've noticed kind of as an outsider looking at the evangelical community, like especially in North America, like I can't speak to elsewhere, but I've just, as somebody with some theological training, I just wonder if like the focus on faith alone, saved by faith, if that's kind of, I don't want to call it irrational, because faith in and of itself is irrational. Like, that we
believe rational, it wouldn't be faith, it would be knowledge.
Yeah. So, but like, there's like you hear people say, if English was good enough for Jesus, it was good enough for me. Like, well, actually, let's talk about ancient Aramaic, or the fact that his Greek was probably perfect. Probably not as good as his Latin probably wasn't as good as his Greek, for example.
It's not like this that are going to open hearts. I really hope for. It's like I know I'm not the smartest person out there, and I'm not going to be like, and here's the reasons why these conspiracy theories are poop.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to people who've come out of conspiracy theories. I want to talk to. I want to listen to people and.
Yeah. Like people will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And like I know somebody who was a white supremacist, like a neo-Nazi, and who's done a documentary on kind of how he exited that, and now how he helps neo-Nazis throughout North America, like skinheads, heal. And I was asking him about like this whole QAnon thing, and because I've had to remove family members from my life, like it's just it's an alternate reality that I want no part of, because it's anti-Semitic and homophobic and xenophobic and all this stuff. And he's like, well, you can't convince them they're wrong, and you just have to connect to them heart to heart and let them know that they're loved, and they'll remember how you made them feel. And if you try to prove them wrong, they'll just retreat further. And yeah, it's hard.
Can you connect me to him so I can have him on my channel?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this time. It's so good to talk to you. And if you should totally check out her channel. And if you're visiting me from her channel, if you're able to promote this video somehow, hi, I hope you'll stick around for other amazing conversations.
Don't forget to like and subscribe Katie's channel right here. And thanks for watching. Thanks for having me, Katie. Okay.
Hugs.
Oh yeah, we get to do the virtual hugs.
Hugs. I won't do nostrils of death this time.
Okay.
Unless you want me to.
No, I'm good. Have a great day.
Bye.
Okay, ciao.
If you have watched it this far, thank you so much. Please share down in the comments if you did and what this conversation meant to you. And I would really, really love it if you would also check out this video that I uploaded yesterday, as of the time of the uploading of this video, the 31st. That was a video I made for the Trans Day of Visibility. And that was really special. There's little snippets of other conversations that are going to be coming up on this channel. So I would also love for you to stick around and watch this short little trailer I made about my channel, because I also do vlogs. I'd love for you to watch that and see if you'd be interested in subscribing and sticking around for regular content. I will just let that roll. I'm Katie. I'm an expat in Sweden, and I believe in vulnerability, community, and authenticity. On this channel, I vlog, run, and have conversations. I hope you'll stick around.
Subscribe.
I gave Kate a hug, but now I will give you a hug because you look like you need one. Hugs.